This session is about ROR. All right. So basically, it's about collision regulations, regulation number 11 to 18. Colreg is a big topic, very important topic. Unlike the new seafarers, which they think that it's very easy. Let me get my host on board. So ROR is not easy as it seems. You might be poor in your cargo work. That's okay. But if you are poor in navigation, it will be difficult for you all to survive 1 month, maximum 2 months. Unfortunately, nobody would want. I'm from Mumbai. Hello, Jitendra, Gaurav Thakur. Hello. So get in, guys. Bhagvendra Singh. Good evening, sir. Good evening, आपको भी. I'm from Navigate Ship Management, Suntech, chemical tankers expert, you can say. I have navigation experience on containers, bulk carriers, and tankers. So I know how it is like to navigate on all these ships. Okay, I've invited my host. Let's see. So we'll be covering today few rules, Colreg rules, all right. And Saturday and Sunday we'll cover more if needed. Some basically the rule number 9 and 10, which is quite confusing and vast. We will cover them on maybe Monday or Tuesday. So let's see how we go about with these rules. It's basically easy with if I would have done it on the YouTube with my slides and some diagrams. Let's see how we cover it live. Hello, Sandeep. Hi, Clement. Oh, yeah. I've sent, I've accepted the request. All right, he's back.
Hello, Captain. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Simran. Over to you.
How are you? How are you, Captain?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. So,
Okay.
Captain, ROR today.
Yeah.
So, we'll be discussing today rules from section 2. That is rules from 13 to 18.
Yeah.
All right, Captain. So, we'll start with rule number 13, Captain. So, rule 13 overtaken.
All right. Before we do that, will not be rule number 11 is just simple, conduct of these vessels. So we'll skip that. Rule number 12, I've never been on a sailing vessel. It's useless. Just mug it up. Very rarely any surveyor is going to ask you. If he asks you, just tell him thank you and, come back for your next oral exams. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Sailor Success is here. He's also my good friend. We'll be doing another live tomorrow.
All right.
All right. So why are we doing this ROR? Basically, if you see navigation, you are going to join as a third mate, and you will be standing on the bridge independently. Earlier, you must have kept watches with chief mate.
Yes,
So
Captain.
understanding of ROR is very important, because what I have seen as a master, as a senior officers, I have seen few masters that if you're poor in cargo operations, be it containers, bulk carriers, you will learn it slowly. You will be there. Chief mate will be there with you. But bridge watchers, you cannot expect your captain to give you hands-on training that which you should have got it during a cadetship. So he will definitely give you time based, depending on your attitude, how good you are in learning attitude. So you will be on the bridge, but then, whatever you have gathered your experience in your 18 months, now that will all count in your first watch as a duty officer. So in my experience, when I took over, so there was no junior officer funda. I went straight away as a third mate in MOL on the containers, and Hong Kong, I took over. And as soon as the pilot went off, after sometime the captain said, "Okay, all yours." No, that is something you don't want to hear as a first time. And then he just went to his radio room and started working on the pre-departure messages and all. But that time, keep your calm. Whatever you have learned in your cadetship and training that has been given to you by your seniors, just use all that. So that is where I'm trying, the ROR basic concepts which I can, explain, just verbally, discussion wise, so that it will be helpful for the, young guys like you.
Yes, Captain.
All right. So also navigation, why I'm stressing another is many of the surveyors, they will ask you, if you appear for your orals, function 1, 2, 3. And many of them, if, they know what is required out of this third mate and second mate, it's basically navigation. Cargo operations, he will be stricter during your mate's exam. Some of them, even give you functions 2 and 3, they are very lenient if you are confident in your function 1. And I've heard stories, if you pass a function 1, function 2 and 3, they just give it to you sometimes. Because basically as third mate and second mate, it's all about navigation. Okay, so coming back to rule number 13. So what's rule number 13?
It's overtaking, Captain.
Overtaking, all right.
So Captain, firstly, at sea when we overtake a vessel, so how do we know that we can overtake her?
Okay.
Or when to overtake her?
Okay. So with overtaking, I want to clear one simple confusion. When rules 9, 10 and 13 otherwise require for rule number 18, the first line. So
Yes, Captain.
notwithstanding anything contained in the rules of part B, conduct of vessels in section 1 and 2. Any condition of visibility and in sight of one another, any vessel overtaking any other. Now here, whenever you're talking about rule number 13, you just forget rule number 18. I have asked questions and many captains have asked me, sometimes a fishing boat is overtaking you or not under command. And, initially our mind goes to rule number 18, not under command, maybe he's having some problem. So he is definitely SAR duty, but no. Anybody who's overtaking you, simple rule, it's his duty to keep clear. Now, when do you consider yourself to be overtaking? That time you get that stern lights, the sector, what's the stern lights angle, 67.5 or 135?
No, Captain, when we overtake?
Yeah, see, the stern light, the sector angle is 135 degrees, right? So basically in this rule, it talks about that when you are only able to see the stern light of the vessel. So that time you have to remember the sector of the stern light. The sector of the stern light is 135. I hope I'm right.
Yes, Captain.
Okay, so 135 and the masthead lights and the side lights are 112.5. Okay, masthead is complete. If you count it's 225, that's different. So basically you should be able to see only the stern light of the vessel as per this rule. Okay.
All right.
Another thing that is missed out and not told in the your classes, if I think so, that there is a cutting of sectors for the side lights and the stern lights and masthead light. Are you aware of this?
Captain, I know the sector wise, it's like for the stern light is 135 degrees overall. And then when we come from the, for the side lights is 112.5 degrees. And then there is some sector which is marginal sector which is left for different situations.
Okay, so 135 degrees, right? Okay. So basically, if you're overtaking any other vessel, so simple, overtaking means that vessel's speed has to be more than the other vessel, the vessel being overtaken. That's the first criteria. Second is, also remember the sector lights. It's, the rule talks about, more than 22.5 degree above the beam.
Above the beam.
So basically, it is telling you that you should fall in the stern light sector of that vessel that you're planning to overtake. All right. So also go through the annexes where it talks about the cutting of light. So for a stern light, okay, so when the stern light, the intensity of the light is not 100%. and it doesn't actually cut off at 135 degree. It reduces to 50% slowly to 135. If you imagine that diagram, then at more than the sector, it goes to another 5 degrees, okay, and then practically cut off. So that's the requirement for the sunlight. So it might happen that sometimes when your the vessel is rolling pitching, that is one thing. Second thing, whenever you overtaking, it might happen because of this the sector lights, more than the prescribed sector. It might happen that even though your radar is saying 22.5 degree, you are above, but still you will be able to see a stern light
Stern lights.
more than that 22.5. Okay, that is why this guys, the ROR guys, they have said if you are in doubt, assume
Assume
this
that
rule,
you are overtaking the vessel.
assume you are overtaking and act accordingly. So remember the sector light ka funda. Next, if you're overtaking, definitely when you're overtaking, it is your duty to keep clear. Okay, overtake the vessel by a good CPA, and then once you're overtaking, suppose if you have your alteration to the port side, so do not alter to port, and then you become a crossing vessel, and then you call up that other guy on the VHF and tell him that now it's rule number 15 applies. It's your duty. Pass my stamp. No, overtaking vessel, it is his duty to finally passed well and clear.
Clear off.
It is his duty throughout till the vessel is finally passed and clear. So that's about rule number 13, overtaking. And whenever you are the stand-on vessel, pay particular attention when you are the stand-on vessel, because even though it is his duty, but during that time, you have to watch. And if you see that he's heading straight away to your stern, so you alter away from him and keep on a parallel course so that you can take a 360-degree turn and pass turn of him. That is one. And whenever you have good sea room and whenever you are planning to overtake, try to overtake from the port side.
All right.
Why?
So,
Because
but
tell me.
yeah. Captain,
No,
I was just going to say this only. On board, whenever we are there, it's like a common practice to overtake from the port side, but it's nowhere mentioned in the rules. But it's a good practice of seamen. So, is there some specific thing behind this? A reason behind this?
Again, I think rule number 2 talks about seamanship a lot. So here it's a
Yes.
seamanship because of anticipation. See, a good watchkeeper, whenever he's on the bridge, it's all about anticipation and situational awareness. Anticipation means you should not only think of your vessel, you should also think of the other vessel. Now, if you're overtaking from the port side, okay, now if that vessel has a head-on situation for him, he is definitely going to alter to starboard.
Yes,
Alright.
Captain.
If you're overtaking from his starboard side, then you will come on his starboard side and he will be stuck. He will not be able to go to starboard side. So it is always to overtake from the port side so that, he has sea room on his starboard side.
That
All
is.
right. And accordingly, if the vessel is also causing you trouble, you will also go to starboard. So, win-win situation for everybody. And restricted visibility also, it is better to overtake from the port side. That will cover, I believe, on Saturday.
Yeah. All right, Captain. So yes, in this rule 13, it's just that when we when we are like allowed to overtake, and then if we are in doubt, then we shall assume that we'll overtake, and then we'll take all the actions accordingly. So yes, Captain, let's go to the other rule.
Rule number 14.
Rule number 14, head-on situation. So, yes,
Okay.
Captain, over to you. When are we head-on?
Okay. If you have the other vessel on a relatively, reciprocal or nearly reciprocal courses, so it's common sense, the other vessel is totally opposite of your heading, or by daylight you see the corresponding aspects of the other vessel. Now you can see his accommodation and, and basically, on the radar you use your relative bearings to your optimum use. That also I will talk about later. Oh, okay, overtaking was covered, no? Okay. So in head-on, you just, or your true bearing on the radar, it will just show you the normal, the true vector, sorry. It will just show you the actual, heading of that vessel and your vessel. So when you just press to relative, then it will show you how it is passing, relative to your vessel.
Yes,
So if you see that it is coming closer to your 0.5 1 mile circle,
VRM. Yeah.
VRM, that means it's a close quarter situation. That means you have to take action. Now, as per rule number 14 says, go to starboard. That guy will also go to starboard. That's there. You alter to starboard, he will alter to starboard. You're covered. Now, this nearly reciprocal courses, I will just try to explain. It's not mentioned, but it makes sense. Again, the lights cut off. Now, imagine at night, you are seeing two masthead lights in a line or nearly in a line. Okay, both are 225 degrees, so definitely you'll be able to see them. Now, the side lights. You should be able to see both the side lights.
Both the side lights.
Okay, now side lights का जो अपना sector कितना होता है 112.5.
Yes, Captain.
So 112.5. Okay, so 112.5 in that range, you should be able to see both the side lights. Now, as per the the sector details which is mentioned in the annexes, the forward part of the side light mentions it should cut off beyond 112.5 degrees in the forward direction. 1 to 3 degrees mein na, wo slowly from 100% it will become to 90, 80 or whatever, and it will just cut off to 1 to 3 degrees. That means if you're facing a vessel ahead at the night, even if that, for example, you're on 000, the other vessel is on 180. All right. So if the other vessel is on 183, okay, you will still be able to see the starboard side, the green light of that other vessel. Why? Because of the cutoff. Now this is theoretical. It may happen that you will be able to see a little bit more than that, because as per the lights visibility talks 6 miles, but at night we can see the lights of other vessels more than that. That is different part. But practically, theoretically, 1 to 3 degrees is the one you can answer to your surveyor, and by justifying this, that practical cutoff of the side lights in the forward direction is 1 to 3. So within 3 degrees, you can definitely see the side lights of the other vessel. That means you are complying with both the side lights, which is true for this. And again, if you are in doubt, assume it is a head-on situation and go to starboard.
Take actions, yeah. All right. I just saw a question in the comments, Captain. It was, when do we see the masthead light and the side lights all together? So this is the same situation, head-on. You can see the masthead light as well as your side lights. And
exactly.
Yes, if
headlights is not a problem. Headlights is not a problem, but for masthead light, definitely. The masthead light is not a problem. But for the side lights, 1 to 3 degrees, yeah, you will definitely be able to see more than. So 1 to 3 degrees is your relatively, reciprocal courses that you can answer to your surveyor.
All right. So let's go to the other. I can see. Okay, the comments, Captain. They have some questions, but they are related to the other rules. So we'll discuss next rule. We'll go to the rule 15. Crossing situation, Captain. Crossing vessel.
Okay, crossing vessel. Again, how do you know a vessel is crossing? If you see a vessel on a port side or a starboard side, she is crossing from starboard to port side, and a normal cadet, it is crossing. But when you go as a a duty officer, you will be checking the bow crossing range on the radar practically. You have the vessel has to, the crossing vessel on the starboard side. I'm talking, you're the Gideon, he is the stand on. You have to check your radar. You have to check your radar for the bow crossing range. If you press the relative vector, suppose you see the details, it's very much easy available on the XDs. You just put a cursor, you can see all the data. If not on the radar, and if you see there is no bow crossing range, okay, that means she is not crossing you. Then you don't have to get confused. Well, she looks a crossing, but then you check your radar and your, the target data. Then you check the relative vector if she's passing stern of you, if she's passing ahead of you. Always use relative vector. It's only for Colrex, relative vector. Now, if you see she's crossing ahead of you or slightly stern of you, but falling within your, 0.5 mile range VRM, that means she is a close quarter. But I'm talking about 0.5 to 0.3 is because of the radar, which is not situated forward. The radar is situated and on the huge ships it's situated in between, so you have almost 100 meters forward and 200 meters aft or whatever. So your radar is showing with reference to that. If you assume 0.3 is nautical mile CPA, that means you are definitely going to hit. So never keep that 0.2, 0.3 CPA as a safe side margin for passing huge ships.
Yes,
now when we are crossing, practically what you do, now you have assumed, when you realize that the CPA is less and the vessel is crossing. So as per the rule, you're not supposed to cross the other vessel. It doesn't say go to starboard, it doesn't say go to port. Do not cross the track. So practically is, use your course alteration and alter to starboard. Now, how much to alter to starboard? What if there is good sea room? Okay, and if you have you plan to take this action well in advance. So if you are taking action well in advance, a slight course of alteration you will be able to clear. But if you are taking action, little bit closer, that time you bring the vessel right ahead. That is what we do, even on containers and tankers. We just bring the vessel right ahead. So you'll have to give that 30-40 degrees of alteration. Now this is large enough alteration. The other vessel has seen you making a big alteration. So he knows that this guy has taken action. He studies his rules properly. Okay. He's attended our sessions properly.
Yeah.
Now, as a duty officer, you don't want to keep following the track and, come off track and, and hand over to the other guy that you are a lot of, off track. So that time what you do is keep following the stern of the ship. Once she's already crossed your bow, no? So keep following the stern of the ship. I used to do that, on containers as well. So keep following the track of stern of the other ship, and you will slowly come back to your original track. So that time that way you don't lose, go more of a off track. And rule number 17 will talk about what happens when the other vessel doesn't, take action for us, and we are the stand-on vessel. So we'll cover that.
Well, Captain, in case of this crossing situation only, how will we know we are give way or we are stand on?
Okay. In crossing situation, any vessel which is crossing from your starboard side to port side, or she is coming anywhere forward of a beam and she is not overtaking, that means you are the give way vessel. Now, you are supposed to use your speed. You should always use your speed. If not, use a course, but generally you are always on the full ahead RPM, but never hesitate to use the speeds as a duty officer. Many accidents have taken place where the duty officers they are hesitant to use the engines. So learn speak to your chief engineer during your main engine crash stop or the stopping test, emergency stop. Just see on every ships there is an emergency stop button. If you press that, it's like pack up.
Yes, Captain.
But if you have time and if you're smart enough, when you put the the telegraph to on 80, 90, full sea speed RPM, so there is one cancel limit button. When you bring it to full
Yes,
head,
Captain.
it comes under load down program. Okay, that is for the safety of the engine. So what you do is, if you have good time, you bring it to full height. Okay, bring it to full height and press the cancel limit button. Immediately the RPM from 90 or 92, whatever, it will immediately come down to your full height RPM. Call up the engine room that you are doing this. It's an emergency. By the time they will go down, the duty engineer will run and go down, and your engines are ready. Okay, and that way you can easily control the situation using engines as well, and you have not screwed up your engines also by pressing the emergency stop. Emergency stop is for extreme emergencies. Nobody is stopping you. I'm also not stopping you. Use it if you feel it's very necessary. But then once the situation is clear and you want to start your engines again, it is more problematic rather than following this process. If you have time, use the cancel load down program, and then use your engines to slow down your speed. Suppose you have a big fishing boat patch on the starboard side,
Yes, Captain.
and it's all anticipation. When you see a vessel is crossing and there is on the starboard side there is a shoal or there is a vessel aground and there is a wreck, you cannot go to starboard. So that time you cannot say that I could not take action, I will go to port or whatever. That time you reduce the speed. In the court of law, they'll ask you why you did not use your engines.
All right. All right, Captain. So I hope this rule is clear to everyone who all are watching this. And if you have any questions, please comment below. So, Captain, we'll move to the next rule, that is Rule 16, actions by giveaway vessel. So, yeah.
I would
First of all,
request. Yeah.
First of all, Captain, what is a giveaway vessel? Who is a giveaway vessel?
Okay. Any vessel which has been guided by this rule that it is your duty. Okay. For example, for crossing, I have a vessel on my own starboard side. Okay. I'm the giveaway vessel.
All right.
Now, and then rule number 18 talks about that I am a partnering vessel. I'm supposed to keep clear of the NUC, fishing boats, RAM vessels. I'm the giveaway vessel. Those are the standard vessels.
All right.
So, this rule can you? No,
so what
this rule is small. I believe you should be able to teach everyone. Rule number 16.
Rule number 16 is, Captain, it's very small. It just tells what is the action by giveaway vessel. So it is said that if you are a giveaway vessel, we have to keep clear of we have to keep clear of the other vessel's way. We don't have to impede her so far as practical and possible. So we have to take the actions which are required so that she can pass well clear of us.
Perfect. Well said. So basically 16 is like it's when if it's your duty, you have to keep clear. And if you don't keep clear, you will be stuck at home finding new job, and definitely standard companies will not be employing you back. I'm stressing on this because I've seen people getting sacked. All right. Let's get a back first. There have been close quarter situations, and the second mate or third mate on watch, he has been sacked. All right, so you're back.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Captain. I don't know, but there was some
That's all right.
interruption.
We're just talking about the importance. There have been cases where the duty officers, junior officers are generally the ones, easy scapegoats. They are the ones, it's easy for the masters and company to sack them to close out the report, the collision or some accident has taken place. And that time, if you know your rules and if you have taken proper actions, it is all going to be recorded in the, our big boss, VDR. And you will definitely be re-employed if you have taken proper actions and done everything based on your knowledge and experience. Next, 17.
Yeah. So rule number 17.
Okay.
Just give me 2 minutes. I'll disconnect and I'll connect again.
All right. What will be the safe speed in not in different situations? I would not be able to answer that. It depends on the vessel that you are sailing on. Okay. Containers go at 20-25 knots. Small parcel tankers go at 12 knots. Whichever speed you think you are control. And again, rule number 6, we will be talking. You have to assess all the situation. If you're transiting Singapore Straits, definitely you cannot go at full RPM. You need to drive a ship at one particular RPM wherein you can feel comfortable that you can use the engines to stop. Underway and making way through water, confusing all the time. Basically, see your simple funda. I may be wrong. Okay, I'm also still learning. But if your Doppler speed is 0 or close to 0, you are not making way. Okay, that means you're underway. That means you're floating on the water. Okay, and if you're making way through water, that means you're churning the, you're making some distance over water. So basically it's that thing. If you're underway, that means you're floating. That time, even if your current is there and your ship is bodily moving at 3 knots, 4 knots, doesn't matter. You're still underway. But if the propeller is turning and you're moving through the water, that is called underway. So basically Doppler speed is 0, underway. Doppler speed is more than 0.5 to 1 knot, then it is making through water. Notwithstanding. Okay, the same thing I explained. Notwithstanding means definitely nothing in these rules will override the rule number 13. Okay, Simran is back.
I hope it's clear now,
It's much better.
but it's still echoing.
No, it is not echoing today.
All right. So, yeah, shall we continue or you are still answering?
I just took few questions. We'll pick up those questions at the end. Now we are almost not even half an hour and we covered rule number 16. All right.
So we'll go on the next rule, that is rule 17. Action
Okay.
by stand-on.
All right. So action by stand-on vessels, it talks when one of the two vessels is to keep out of the way. Okay, when somebody is give way, the other is a stand-on vessel. Stand-on vessel may problem is, practically as a duty officer, it's much a big problem because you don't know what the other guy has, from where he studied, whether he's attended my sessions or not, whether he skipped those RO classes, and nationality problem. Those Chinese and those people, sometimes it's very big problem to even speak to them. Port to port and starboard to starboard, they will alter to port. So it becomes a problem when you stand on vessel. When you give way, you know that you know your rules and you have to take action. So stand on vessel, be extra careful. So the rule says that you have to maintain a course and speed. Now, when you're not, you're seeing that the other guy is not taking action. That time you use your 5-shot blast and your, bring your LD slam outside and,
Yes.
go out of the bridge wing, start flashing. That's where you attract his attention. But keep some margin, Not that margin depends on how speed you're moving. And always anticipate well in advance. Don't be at the last stage. Then it says that when you have to, the stand-on vessel has to take action as soon as it becomes apparent to her that the vessel required to, that means the giveaway vessel is not taking appropriate action. That means you realize that the giveaway vessel is not taking appropriate action. You as a stand-on vessel have the right to take action. Okay. Second, it is saying that if the giveaway vessel is taking action, but he is taking the action so late, or his action cannot avoid a collision, that time no, you cannot, you just like the bullock carts and all that, do not follow your course and speed. That time it's your duty also to take action, because see, legally when you study law in your mates and masters, there is both to blame collision clauses there. Whenever you collide, when the blame factor comes into play, that time the lawyers, they will calculate how much blame percentage is to be given for each vessel. Now, depending on how much you followed, you have complied with your rules, accordingly, your company will be, given that proportion, your vessel will be given that proportion of the blame. And that obviously we want less. So if you're stand-on vessel, and if you have not taken any action, you will also be blamed. And if you're stand-on vessel and you did take action, you altered to starboard, went on a parallel course, reduce the speed, you have all the VHF recording and all that to prove your backing story, then the blame factor will be less. And again, it will indirectly reflect on your job. Okay, so that's talking about this. And the 17C talks about the partner vessel. Basically, it's the crossing situation kind of opposite. So you are the stand-on vessel, and there's another vessel on the port side. Okay, he is crossing you, and you are the stand-on vessel. So that time, the rule says, watch out, and do not alter to port. Definitely, because he must be working on his computer, preparing for his port papers, and then suddenly he wakes up to see, oh, there is a ship on my starboard side. He opens his ROR book. Okay, then he checks rule number 13. Rule number 15. He decides to go to starboard. But you were smart enough to realize, I see him on the port side, he is not taking action. That
So we took the action before.
Okay. Am I audible, guys? I just got a call, unfortunately, so it got disconnected. Am I audible still? Can you hear me? Okay, Priyanka Bansal, you are right in whatever your comments. Underway is a movement of the ship. That's absolutely right. Okay, you can hear me, right? Okay, let me get her on board. Just 2 rules, and then we'll pick up some questions. And basically, friends, please ask me questions pertaining to rule number 11 to rule number 18. Thank you, Priyanka. All right. Because we'll be covering restricted visibility. It's a nice topic on Saturday, and Sunday we will cover rule number 5, 6, 7, and 9 and 10 we'll cover on Monday, Tuesday.
Captain, am I audible?
Perfectly audible.
I'm so sorry for this. I don't know what's happening to the Wi-Fi.
That's okay. I think that this issue is still much better than my echoing issue. So that way, I think.
Yeah, it never
We are perfectly
happens
fine.
when I do online classes, but I don't know why it's happening now.
No problem. I was in fact picking up some questions randomly. So
Yeah, I heard
the
about this
audience were.
underway and making way.
Yeah, Priyanka has nicely mentioned that. So we'll answer that at the end. Just let me finish the 17 and 18.
All right, Captain.
So I was, you're the stand-on vessel and the crossing vessel is giveaway. So that time you maintain your course and speed. For a safe side, if you still feel that he is not altering, just alter a little bit to starboard so that increase your CPA. Because ultimately it's going to pass a stern. If you alter to starboard, your CPA is going to increase. Okay, that time, if he is not taking action, then you keep going on the starboard side, let him pass your stern. That is a, and if you want to take a 360-degree turn, there has been one incident wherein one of the stand-on vessel took a 360-degree turn and he banged into the other vessel, in
Stone.
midway.
Okay. Okay.
In the midway, and then his was a chemical tanker, and that ship was on fire for almost 2-3 weeks, and that ship was carrying cyanide, cyanide cargo. So they had to really abandon the vessel as soon as they impacted. So, whenever you're doing such a big alteration, suppose you're a third mate or second mate and you see a stand-on vessel and the giveaway vessel is not taking action, you call up the VHF, call on the VHF, that's there. If you're making a big 360-degree turn, which you can, call your master. Let him come on bridge and explain to him the situation and do this big alteration only in the presence of master. Nobody is stopping you, but taking a big turn with a 300-400 meter container ships and even the smaller ships, you have to calculate many other factors, the turning circle and the radius, and what if there are other ships coming from port starboard. So because once she starts moving, it's difficult to stop a big ship. So always, call master at that situation. And whenever in a stand-on situation, you feel that, the giveaway vessel is not taking action, it will be mentioned in your standing orders, of master as well. So definitely call. And why it's saying you cannot alter to port? Because in case he alters to starboard and you have altered to port, it's like he will be, his blame factor will come down and your will go high because you went to port. But it also talks about if the circumstances of the case admit. Now, what does this mean? Suppose he is altered to starboard, and the situation has become such that it's going to collide for sure. Okay. Now you're a container or a tanker. If he hits you in the center of your vessel, so that time the chances of cargo coming out is much higher.
Yes,
So this is all, the advanced stage, if the collision is imminent. So that time, how people react is totally different. Okay. That time, if maybe a senior master, if he's seeing that, collision is going to happen, so at that time he will make a, wide alteration to port and, hit him head on. Why head on? Because of the collision bulkhead, which is forward of him and in forward of us. So there the impact will be the forecastle deck will be smashed to pieces and, whatnot. But at least there will be no cargo overflow or the bunker tank overflow, because collision is not a problem. See, collision, then you'll come outside, you'll have investigation inquiries, the ship will go to repair yard. But with the collision, if there is an oil overflow because of the bunker tanks or the cargo tanks, then the penalty and the fine is much higher. You will be spending more time in jail than finding jobs if you had collided.
All right, Captain.
And last it says that this rule does not relieve the giveaway vessel. So it doesn't mean that if the stand-on vessel is smart enough to he's altering to starboard and increasing the CPA. So it does not mean that the giveaway vessel should not take action. And another thing for you junior guys, when you go on bridge, bridge equipments is all under you. Use VHF to your maximum advantage. I don't know if somebody is listening to this. But MMD orals, definitely you cannot use VHF. Okay. Maybe in your
according to ROR, Captain, we cannot use VHF. And because
yeah,
it's not
according to ROR, but for your MMD orals, definitely you cannot use VHF.
But in ROR, we cannot use this VHF because it has then disadvantages.
Perfect. But MMD, do not use VHF. In your companies, when you're getting promotion as second mate and all that time if somebody is interviewing you, that time definitely don't use VHF. But on board, practically, we use VHF to a maximum advantage. You have AIS for target identification for big ships. Fishing boats, screw the VHF, just, take your binoculars. Container navigation I have done, take your binoculars, forget even radar. Just make a zigzag, just come outside. Because if you plot all these fishing boats practically on the radar, because you have learned radar and you are expert in radar, so you will see there are 20-30 targets around you with all the different vectors. That time use true vector. That time don't say that somebody told me relative vector is good enough. That time all the relative vectors will be in different directions depending on your speed and your course. That time use true vector. Why? Because you'll come to know which fishing boat has stopped, which fishing boat is moving, not moving. Use your true trails. Okay, true trails is a very good tool. Use a true trail, so we'll come to know immediately, because radars, if you the vector change happens, in 3 minutes, there's one 3 minute period for the radar vector, to be relied upon. But the true trails are accurate. As soon as the target starts moving, you will see the true trail. That means this fishing boat
Yes.
is moving. Okay. Also, when you are approaching an anchorage, true trails, as soon as you are fix a position and you're proceeding to the anchorage, and suddenly some other ship starts heaving up anchor and picks up speed. So again, true trail to your advantage. And fishing boats, if you are stuck in a huge fishing boat, South China Sea and India coast, you cannot call them on the VHF. There are many times, the fishing boats, they will call you by Bada Jat ka Kaptan Saab and all that. You must have heard that. And many
Yes,
times
Captain.
I myself have called them on the VHF that I'm taking action, and they will be like, okay, thank you. And for me, dur tak in front of me, there's nobody. So VHF range is 40-50 miles theoretically, but sometimes it goes more than that. So very difficult for the fishing traffic. But for big ships, you make a proper communication. You know the vessel's name. You know your vessel's name. Call up. Clear communication. I'm altering my course to starboard. You are altering your course to starboard. We'll pass port to port. Simple. Or green to green, red to red. Make it full, clear communication. Acknowledge. And if you see that he's not acknowledged, but in no ways, I'm not saying, if you're using VHF, bypass your call regs. You follow your call regs, but use the VHF because you have AIS. Earlier days, AIS is not there. So you had to call up a vessel and, by lat long and bearing. That was a big problem. But definitely, if there is a collision and all, then they will come back saying, why have you used VHF?
All right. I would just add one thing more, Captain. If by chance like we are using VHF while taking some action for this communication, so never agree to anything that goes against Colrix while you are talking on VHF. Because if in case your action goes wrong and then collision occurs or something happens, then when there will be a huge investigation, they'll ask why did you go opposite to Colrix. So if you are using VHF, please don't agree on anything that goes against your Colrix.
Perfect. You
All right,
use
Captain.
VHF perfectly. You use VHF, but follow your rules. You have to go to starboard. You have to go to starboard. You have to pass a stun, pass a stun. Use VHF and tell him. You tell him your actions. Nobody's stopping you. It's free. It's there's incoming and outgoing is free on VHF.
All right, Captain. So we'll go to the next rule and the last rule for today. That is Rule 18, responsibilities between vessels. So yes, Captain, over to you.
Okay. In this, basically, let me see in my bullet points. What did I miss from rule number 17? Yeah. So in rule
Captain,
number
first,
18, yeah.
Captain, firstly, it's like the first line it says, except where Rule 9, 10, and 13 otherwise. So what does this line mean?
Rule number 18 applies except 9 narrow channels. Forget rule number 18. Rule number 10 TSS, that is separate. Okay, TSS is separate, narrow channel is separate. We will try to cover 9 and 10, if you people are interested. And I'm happy to see a good count of viewers. It was surprising. I thought that maybe RO are not, people are not that interested. It's easy to navigate. What are these people doing? Just altering port and starboard, especially the engineers, they think navigation is peanuts. But then, you come on the bridge during South China Sea and been on container
Especially
ships,
at night.
at
Especially
night
at
you
night,
have
Captain,
the,
because
the,
these small
the
fishing boats and sailing vessels, they feel very happy to cross your bow.
Diwali lights. So, and nowadays, you have this economical RPM. In my days, we had this, maximum RPM. I've been on containers with almost 27 to 30 knots.
All right.
And it was fun. We never used to use engine, just drive port starboard, and it was fun. Those 4 hours of navigation. And when I went to container, on the tankers, I was like so slow speed because on containers it used to be, you see a vessel and by the time it's already gone. On tankers, you're going at 13 to 14 knots, and I have time to take action. So I used to really enjoy the containers navigation. VLCC navigation I have not done, but I really admire those guys because they have a huge body mass of ship and they have to take action for a fishing boat, which we know, containers is just you give 5-10 degrees to starboard and you will clear. But VLCCs, they have to move, and if they move, they don't stop. I would not move. I would rather let the fishing boat move. So that's there.
All
So
right.
now coming to rule number 18, it says that a power drain vessel underway. Okay, not under command, RAM. Oh, okay, my third mate has come. I'll be talking about a situation of my, the sways that I experienced.
All
So
right.
he was my third mate, this Vinith Malik. So a good third mate, and then we passed it. So NUC, RAM, and fishing vessel and sailing vessel, you are supposed to keep clear. Then a sailing vessel keeps clear of God knows, all these people, forget them. We are not working on fishing boats, so fishing boats will keep clear of NUC and RM. If you think you're drifting and you put on the NUC lights, and then if you see a fishing boat, and if you say, hey, if you as per rule 18C, you're supposed to keep clear, it's not going to happen. So that's there. And any vessel other than a Nautica. This one is important. Any vessel other than a NUC or a RAM should not impede the passage of a CBD. CBD means any vessel which is constrained by draft, doesn't matter which ship is that. Mostly the VLCCs and the deep draft. The container ships also, I believe, are deep draft at times. No?
They are deep draft, Captain. But we don't
But,
come in the we have deep drafts, but we don't come under CBD.
okay.
Like I have never been in a situation that we were CBD.
Okay. So, Rathore, that's what I mentioned. The VLCCs are very special in navigation. They also have to take action because nowhere the rule says, the VLCCs are separate and, any vessel has to keep clear of them. They are also following the rules. But then, for them to take action for a few patches of fishing boats, we containers and tankers, we just maneuver, go through the fishing boats, the patches of fishing boats, we don't care. But for VLCCs, considering the size and all, it's very different. So I really admire the VLCC navigation guys. So any vessel other than an NUC or a RAM vessel will keep clear of a
CBD.
CBD. That's covered. And and the vessel CBD vessel will also navigate with extreme caution. Then seaplane and wing in ground craft just mug it up and forget it. The seaplanes and the wing in ground are so fast you can't even by the time you think of taking an action they are already in the air or they already passed. So 18, rule number 18 basically talks about what are your responsibilities between other ships. But again, do not get confused between rule number 13, wherein, if you see a NUC vessel overtaking you, it is his duty. That time you can, increase your CPA by altering away from him. That is a max you can do. And another question I have,
Question.
what about the NUC and the RM? Suppose there is a NUC vessel coming down 180 and there is a RAM vessel going 000. Whose duty to keep clear?
Like NUC and RAM in a head-on situation.
Yeah. The rule talks about that, you think?
No, but then if I think NUC should take action. I don't know. Both should. Captain, for me, if it's if this is asked, so I would say both should reduce the speed or maybe stop the engines. That's the best thing because NUC won't take action, RAM won't take action.
See, it's nowhere mentioned in the rule about these two ships. Again, it's not mentioned also that whether vessels at anchor, it's our duty to keep clear. That again comes in the seamanship. And NUC and RAM, again, it's not mentioned. If that's the case,
Everyone, Captain, everyone at my home is watching our live on different phones.
oh, okay. So thank you
So
for
they
them
are
because
just showing
they are
the
the few
cameras back.
viewers out
So
of
sorry for
content.
this.
It's fun. Okay. So, anyways, that counts to our viewership, so that's okay. So, where was I? Okay, NUC and RAM.
They're trying to make me laugh since so long, and then they're also yeah. Sorry. So
Okay. We have covered our topics
so
for
yes,
today.
Captain, I was saying that both should stop the engines, I guess.
Not stop. See, when you are underway and they are proceeding, definitely use your course alteration is the best method to prevent any collision. So use your course. They will definitely slow down and alter their course accordingly and pass well clear of each other. So that's there. So that is just one funny part of this ROR.
All right, Captain. From my side, it's all done.
Okay. Now, few things I would like to cover. Okay, let's get come back online. Okay, by the time she comes online, the guy is watching it. Either you're already third mate, second mate, or going to be. Know your rules properly. That's, of course, you have to. But then always remain a very calm composure. Okay, and stay cool. Do not panic in crossing or close quarter situation. Do not panic. Keep calm. Why? Because the calmer you are, that time you will be able to.
I don't know what's happening today.
Okay, no problem. I was just talking about being Dhoni on board ship for you as well. Whenever you go on board and you see a dense fishing traffic, and you suddenly come on watch and then you have to take action, do not panic. Tackle the fishing boats one by one. Normally, when you see those fishing boats plotted on the radar and you start plotting, it will be very chaos if you see on the radar. Don't worry. You have to handle the fishing boats one by one. So whichever is the ones nearer to you, just plot those. Forget the one which is on the starboard side, port side, stern. In case they are disturbing you, that's okay. So just plot one by one the new ones, and then take actions accordingly. And then as soon as you pass them, tell them goodbye, and then you plot the next ones. So tackle the fishing boats one by one. And in case some fishing boats suddenly he's already crossed starboard to port, okay, and then suddenly he decides to have fun. He comes ahead of you. Do not lose your panic. Okay, stay calm. Tell your AAB, because if you stay calm, okay, that time your actions and your decisions will be perfect. Okay, but if you panic, if you start running around, you start going on the bridge and start flashing ultis lamp and all that, your decisions will be, accordingly, it will not be correct. And if you feel that, you need an assistance, I'll just share 2-3 incidents. One incident when I was my last ship as mate, I wanted to experience Singapore transit. So I went on the bridge at around 8 o'clock, and I told captain that, I want to experience this Singapore transit, Horsburgh to One Fathom Bank. I want to experience. And he was like, okay, somebody is taking care of the bridge and I can go and relax. And I wanted to do it myself because I didn't want to, go personally and as a master, and then suddenly, I'm not that confident. Just I went there to experience. So I went there and I told the third mate. The third mate was obviously in charge of the vessel. He was a senior third mate, third or fourth ships as third mate. And then he saw, the mate is here. So he didn't take it nicely. And then, the captain told him that Vijay is here. He will be just monitoring this thing for his own knowledge. It has nothing to do with him. But he felt sad. He was like upset that, why is he doubting my competency? I have transited, many times. And I didn't wanted somebody to, monitor me. I told him, come on here. I mean, if you look at my nature, I'm cool and all. I just, come on here. I'm not here for you. I'm just here for myself. Just to help you. After some time, Singapore transit, normally the fishing boats never trouble you. But out of, blue, literally close to 80, 100 fishing boats, right ahead, piled up. And it's Singapore transit, passing through that channel. You can't go port starboard because it's a TSS. You have ships coming down, ships coming from here and there. That time I said, okay, I'm taking over. And again, my container navigation, I just, screw the radar, just visual binoculars, nighttime, fishing boats, port, starboard, port, starboard, port, starboard. And that guy was helping me, bridge team management. That guy was helping me, okay, this boat is clear. I'll ask him, okay, this target, this bearing, what is the situation? Okay, so and even though I was a senior mate and good experience of navigation, there were some fishing boats coming closer and they try to trouble you. And in Singapore and Malacca states, piracy has increased. So it might happen that some of them might be a pirate boat. I felt that I think navigation is not a problem, but this guy is coming close to my ship. Maybe if he boats. So I called up the captain that come and just take care of this pirate boat or whatever, fishing boat, whoever it is. And I just, did nicely maneuvering navigation and got her out. And then the third mate was like, thank God that you were here. So that was an experience. Stay calm. Calmly I control. And another experience during second mate time, night watch. One fishing boat, again, you will also have many close quarters. Fishing boat was clear and suddenly he came ahead on one of the tankers. And then, the ABs panic. He started running, port starboard, left, right, and, Filipino. So Putangina started, doing all that. And I just remained calm and I told him, okay, come on the wheel, port starboard, whatever, I just did. And we cleared the situation. That time he came to me after some time. I said, second, why are you so calm and composed, calm? I said, if I also panic, it will be bad. I gave him some nice funda. But just like I'm saying, we are human beings. We are bound to, panic and, our heartbeat will rise and all that. It is going to happen. Not everybody is, like born Dhoni kind of thing. We will show our emotions, but learn to control emotions. I was also scared, to be honest. I was also scared, to be honest, and my heartbeat also raised. But luckily, I don't know, maybe somehow my nature, that's the reason I put my captain pull tag everywhere, because it has been since my cadetship. I used to think that I have this nature because I don't have four stripes. Maybe because I'm not responsible yet. But I managed to continue that as well. That's why I call myself, and it's one of the good qualities. Just stay calm. Okay, you get your reactions, keep it under control. Then once the situation is passed, you can come down to your party and take a beer or whatever, and have fun. That, oh, this happened, that happened. So that happened. That was one incident. Another funny incident, I will say, my first ship as third mate. We were two third mates and one second mate. So the other third mate had gone to relieve the chief mate. The second mate was working on the bridge and it was raining. The wipers were not on. Me, out of just third mates, so we are good friends, so we like to chit chat with each other. So I just went, after my dinner to chit chat, and I just went on the bridge, container ships, MOL 6000 TU ones. I just switched on the wiper. There was one fishing boat, containers, visibility is kind of, restricted in the containers because of those boxes. One fishing boat, right ahead. I don't know how much was the distance. And I was like, I told the third mate, because he was the one who officially relieved chief mate. He said, Abhi, there's a boat right ahead. And he's like, he was looking at the radar. He's like, there's no ship, man. There's no target there. I said, leave the radar. There's a vessel ahead. Visually. Because again, radars, X-band, S-band, in rough seas or your bad weather, you need to see which radar is best, the cloud patches, rain. You will not be able to get all the targets. I actually looked at it and he came and he saw and he panicked. He said, hard starboard. No, hard port. Then I said, we'll go to hard starboard. And imagine container ship going at 27 knots. We made, hard starboard. My God, she started turning so fast. And the vessel, I think he was chilling out. And then suddenly he saw a big 300-meter container ship. I'm talking about 2008. And then he, full ahead, and he just ran away from there. And we came back to our track, and then we had a fun about it. We told captain also that this happened. Then I was thinking, that fishing boat. Next time if he sees MOL on the hull of the ships, definitely he is going to stay away from those ships. So these are the moments. Now the last moment I will just share. It happened on my last ship. As soon as I took over from the Egypt pilots, both the GPS failed. I might have said this before, I don't know, on some other show. So as soon as, the pilots from Suez, they went off, I handed over, some cigarettes to him. Maybe he was not happy. But then the GPS failed. So I kept a visual. Then I went back to my old school navigation, the radar navigation, because radars don't lie. Proper tuning of the radar navigation. You can see your buoys on the radar and visually just see the characteristics of the light. Okay, identify. That means you have passed this buoy in your like this and plot a manual fix. Both the GPS were kaput. I mean, because of the jamming, both were like coming and going. So I never had to rely on the GPS. So I just kept proper maneuvering RPM. Followed a vessel ahead of me. She was Maersk. Okay, so I knew that, okay, Maersk guys are going on the right track. That means for sure I will also be in the safe waters. So kept her ahead of me, kept a good safe distance, kept my buoys, and visually I tried to be in the center of the channel, keep the buoys, port starboard, and then, slowly got her out and dropped my anchor in Malta. So that GPS jamming, I don't know, out of the blue, it remained till Gibraltar. So once I I came to Europe and actually I got my GPS back. I was very confident because all these days I was just doing it without the GPS. So again, radar navigation. The more expert you are in radar navigation, it is easier on the edges.
All
So
right.
I'm done with my stories, and we covered basically. And any questions if you find quick enough to pick up?
No question as such, Captain. I just saw underwear and making way.
We covered that already.
We covered that. That's all. And then there were some questions, but regarding other rules.
Okay, other rules we'll cover it on Saturday, Sunday, and maybe Monday or Tuesday.
We'll post that.
What else? In which situation will be able to see side light and stern light together? Again, the sector, if you are in the for side light, it is again 5 degrees more than the prescribed sector, and for the stern light also in the 5 degrees. So if you're lucky, you will definitely be able to see shooting stars as well as side light and the stern light together. Let me tell you, surveys always want to reserve aspect what you're explaining mostly for taking a 4 red light flashing meaning 30 ROR. Rule number 8, and we'll cover that later. I am not able to.
That's all
So?
from my side, Captain. Anything to add?
Not today. We will cover 19. I think that should be, faster. We can explain that faster. It's not much in the rule number 19.
19 today?
No, not today. Tomorrow. I mean, on Saturday.
All right,
We'll
yes.
stick to a schedule. We had good number of viewers. Even now, also I see it's quite good. So I think people are interested. So we'll keep it this way, fun and knowledgeable both. So thank you
All
again,
right.
Simran, for hosting this beautiful show.
Thank you, Captain, for giving us your time.
Thank you, and thank you to your family members as well for increasing the viewers count.
All right, Captain.
All right.
Okay.
Chalo then.
Yeah,
Take
I
care.
end
Bye bye.
this.
Bye everyone. Yeah.